to our August Neurohumanities Network seminar. As a reminder, we are a group of neurologists and medical students and college students who are all interested in the intersection of the arts, the humanities, and the brain. We are very lucky to have the second year actually of having the support of the Arts and Humanities Initiative from Harvard Medical School. And we have built a community through these monthly virtual seminars and booster sessions. We also have an archive on YouTube that is the lecture of all the events that we have had. And we also have a social media presence through both X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. We also have a newsletter that serves as a way for all of you to know what events are taking place, but also to share interesting links and interesting perspectives. We also have a website. We encourage you to visit it. And we also have this QR code both for the newsletter and the website. I am so excited for today's seminar. We are so lucky to have Barbara Salsberg Mathews, who is a woman of so many talents. She is an artist. She's been involved in the arts ever since she was a child. She graduated with honors from the Ontario College of Art. After that, she earned a master's in education, and her paintings have received widespread recognition and awards as well. On top of it, she also became a mime. She trained in Paris for this, and then she had her own mime touring company. In 2020, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and ever since, she has used her art to showcase her experience, but also others' experiences of living with Parkinson's. She then used her experience as a mime artist to create this new kind of therapy called mime therapy that she'll tell us all about. This is really just a hint of her talent, and I am so very excited to hear her seminar today. So, without further ado, Barbara, please take it away.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me today. Well, you could take the slide down for a minute if you don't mind.
Oh,
Um, yeah, we'll take it down. Thank you. Now you can see my face. Well, yes, like Matthias said, I'm going to share some of my experiences in two different areas in the arts world. One is mime, therapeutic mime, and how it helped me to heal myself and hopefully my fellow PD sisters and brothers, and also how I use my visual arts. I'm using that more as a tool to help inform, change attitudes, and raise awareness of this disease, Parkinson's. So I'll start with a little bit about my life a few years ago. I always do that. That's the past tense. That's the future. And I remember I was just living the life. I'd retired after a couple of decades as a high school art and drama teacher. I ended up as the head of the department, and my two grown children finally were launched. They were on their own. And my husband and I were doing a lot of traveling, and I was beginning to go back to my first love, which is painting professionally. And I made giant, giant canvases with hyper realistic details. And that's when I noticed my hand started to do this little dance. And I thought, something's wrong here. Long and short, in January 2020, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And I'll share with you some artwork. So that picture that was up of the architecture building, maybe we could show that. Because this is how I used to do art before I had that tremor. And it's so many intricate details in the windows. I have some cats there. I even have an exotic dancer. There are people in the foreground, lots of detail. But after Parkinson's, I could like a punch in my gut, to be honest. I never expected to Parkinson's. Nobody in my family on both sides had it. I'm pretty sure, and it's environmental pollutants from my job that I got. But anyhow, I asked the neurologist, how can you tell I have Parkinson's? Because I didn't believe it. And he said, it's all by the way I walked. And I'll show you how I walk. I was not moving my right arm. So I was walking and I was slouching. So I was a little bit like this. And I had no expression on my face. And my right foot was dragging a bit. So I took that information in and I thought, oh my gosh, he's right. That's how I've been gradually, slowly moving that way because I think Parkinson's was trying to take me down very slowly. So I got mad and I thought, I'm going to do some research and see what I can do in my realm of control. I don't want to just be at the mercy of everybody. I got to take some control of my life. And I came across this wonderful book. It's by Dr. Norman Dodge. Dodge, I have always a hard time saying the name Dodge, called The Brain's Way of Healing. And there's a fabulous chapter called A Man Who Walked Off His Parkinsonian Symptoms. And in that chapter, this man started to break down what's involved in walking normally, the different positions that you put your foot. And he broke it down slowly and then he sped it up and did speed walking. Well, I thought that man is doing mime because that's what I had to do when I learned the mime walk. And the next slide, if you could play that for a moment, it will show me doing a stationary mime walk. So thank you. And you could take the slide down. I I decided I'm going to train myself to fake moving normally. And I did it. I focused on putting my heel down first, not the big toe, which was trying to drag and lead. I also used imagery. For example, to prevent the slouch, I visualized a wire, a marionette wire holding me upright. And just like you can move a puppet's limb with a wire. And I had a wire moving my frozen right arm. And that helped me as well. And then for my rolled shoulders, I imagined swallowing a coat hanger, right? So just picture a coat hanger. And right away, my shoulders would just pop back to place. And I took my time. I would take one or two things and practice them for a full week, being very, very mindful. And eventually I found I could walk normally without thinking about it. My right arm now moves all the time, no problem. So I believe I created a new neurological pathway to waken that part of my brain that was not sending the signals to my body. If you notice, my face is moving around a lot. Well, that's because of mime. When I studied mime 50 years ago, yes, I'm 66 now. This is when I was 16, I started mime. We would do facial isolations. So we work from the top down or from the bottom up. So you can try this with me right now to wake up your face. Just raise your eyebrows and lower them. Now just raise your eyelids and relax them. Now let's put them together. Eyebrows, eyelids, relax the eyelids, relax the eyebrows. Now let's reverse. Eyelids, eyebrows, relax the eyebrows, relax the eyelids. It takes some concentration, but you can practice. And If you can't move part of your face, if you get your hands touching your muscles, that helps to further wake it up. I get people to isolate their eyebrows. I can do a really good on my left, that eyebrow, but not that one. But at least it moves. Before it did not. So, and then I move through the nose as well, like, and then the mouth. Mouth is so much fun, and so forth and so on. So I started to do isolation of my body parts, my face, my hands, because my hands were getting stiff. And now I do the different mind exercises, and that helps to keep them alive. Do it for the whole body as well. And it really, really works. So I found that if I can help heal myself, why don't I share it with the world? Because I can't take this with me, this knowledge, when I move wherever I go, somewhere over the rainbow, but I can give it to people right now. And it became a very strong calling for me to be there for my PD sisters and brothers as best I can. That's what's driving me forward. So when I start feeling sorry for myself, I focus on others, and it helps. So I remember approaching the University of Guelph, which is I'm living in Guelph, and I found a new department, this program called the Bachelor of Creative Arts, Health and Wellness. And I thought, wow, that's a perfect place to approach, because they have art, health, and science combined, which is the work I'm doing. And I was very fortunate. I came at the right time. They needed an exemplar, some example of what they were doing. This is the first year. And I co-facilitated a class for a semester, and it was called Mime Over Mind. And my co-facilitator is Dr. Rebecca Barnstable, a wonderful teacher who focuses on dance, therapeutic dance for people with Parkinson's and dementia. So she and I really collaborated together on the curriculum, and it was wonderful. Maybe we can see the next slide. Some of my students, the next one there. Yes. So we're doing some mime in that picture and having a little fun. And Dr. Barnstaple's in the fancy pants in the foreground, and Dr. Kim Francis is in the back row with the light orange sweater and black shirt. And there's me in the white at the back. And now we continue doing research. And it's quite exciting working with them. And there's another professor, Dr. Lori Vallis, who's not in this shot. She does the kinesiology and the science, and measures all fine things. So you can take the slide down. Thank you. And then a nice thing happened. I was very, very fortunate, and I got a Parkinson Canada grant about a year ago to make videos, educational videos of the key components of this program, and I give it away for free. So I feel very, very fortunate that it's out there now in the world, and it's helping people to wake up their bodies through mindfulness. And a lot of this is, is there, I think we have a little trailer, a 30-second trailer of the videos that perhaps you could show in the next slide. I think there's a video there. Yeah, one after that. Yes, there you go. Thank you. And it really is a magical thing when you do mime. What I like about mime for people with Parkinson's is you teach them to do something they already know. So it's like um, holding a glass of water. You can relearn to do that in mime. You can getting dressed. I'll take the sweater off and I'll show you how to put it on in mime. So it'd be like that. So you become hyper aware of how you move through the day, which is very, very beneficial if you have a movement disorder. And the next slide, if we can see, focuses on the 6 PD mind principles. And this it just was designed by X baby. Yeah, just went over. This one, let's keep that up for a minute because this is sort of the keystone of the therapeutic mind training. It's yes, it's fun, but bring it back to some issue that you are personally grappling with. If you have something that you can connect with and relate with, usually you have more motivation and you will stick with it in your learning. This was actually created by Rob Merman, a mime artist and a circus performer in Vermont, USA. And he gave me his blessings to build on his good work. So I'm very grateful to Rob Merman. And it starts off with awareness of what you'd like to change. So I'm going to use what happens to me a lot, unfortunately, at the beginning of my experience having living with Parkinson's. I'd spill water on my feet. That's how I approach this one. And then observation of how you presently move. Then 3, analysis of the movement. And 4, you visualize the correct movement. And 5, go through the mind motions of moving correctly. And then 6, do it again, but in real life, in this case with the glass. So I'll show you this. If you could take the slide down and I'll demonstrate how I go about this. So I'm now aware I am spilling water on my feet a lot. So I start observing what I'm doing, what I'm presently doing. And I as I walk with the glass, I'm not using the real glass because it's filled pretty much with liquid. It might spill on me. But I walk and I end up losing my strength in my hand and it tips this way. So I have to compensate. And what I now do is I purposely hold the glass slightly the opposite direction. And just that slight opposite direction helps me. But I do something else. I imagine I've got a tag of Velcro on an imaginary wall that transports with my glass. So I have Velcro in my hand like that. And that helps in my brain somehow to keep that position. So that's the analysis of the movement number 3. And then I visualize. So I play a movie in my mind's eye of the correct way of moving, holding a glass so it doesn't spill on my foot. And then I do it in mine. And I pick up the glass, I see it, and I do my little walk, and I put it down. I didn't get spilled. So that's good. That's mine. Then to really take like a highlighter marker and get it in my brain, I do it again mindfully in real life with a real glass. Okay, so that's the 6 PD mime principles. And it really helps to have a motivation, something that will help you, a specific goal. So we can move to the next slide for a minute. There are 3 mind concepts. And then I'll demonstrate what these look like. But just so you hear the wording, number 1 is freeze, relax. And I'll show you that in a mime wall. Two is space substance. And that's where a mime artist would create a three-dimensional illusion. So it looks to be real, but invisible. And finally, number three, point fix. And that concept refers to when something, an object or a part of the body, is locked in space. It does not move. So we can take the slide down and I'll go through that and demonstrate what it looks like. If, for example, I'm sure many of you have seen the mime wall like this, right? Now my hand's frozen, right? And then it relaxes. But if I only did frozen, it would not work. It would look like this, right? So like, hey, weird. So, and if it was relaxed, it would be always like that. You wouldn't see a wall. You need the contrast between freeze, relax, freeze, relax. Okay, it's a very simple concept. I use it in when I do my work with my glass. Okay, it's frozen, put it down, relax. You need that contrast. The second concept I'll show you is space substance. I love space substance. I like shaping space and changing it around. Maybe, Galina, you could throw me a mime ball from your side. Yeah, one, two, three, throw it, and poof, thank you. Okay, I got it. Good throw, good catch. And in this case, I have to be mindful of the shape. And my hand is frozen while holding the shape. And I'm going to throw it up in the air. I'll do it in slow motion and catch it with the other hand. Okay. I'm going to change the shape. Sorry, I get carried away with myself. And so you can change the shape. I'll take that little lipstick and do one more fun thing with it. I'm going to shut my eyes and show off that this is I guess let's see, memory, my movement memory. Hey, watch. And I'm going to change it again with my eyes shut. And I'll change it again. And so on and so forth. Can I throw that back to you, Galina? Ready, set, woo! Oh, I didn't mean to knock you over. Sorry about that. Okay. So just three simple concepts can open a whole magical world and help you get back control of your body. So it's a simple tool, doesn't cost anything, and it's all free on my website, mimeovermind.com. Help yourself. And I also am a visual artist. I love painting, I love drawing, and when I started to develop Parkinson's before I knew what I had symptoms that were weird. The last year I was teaching art, I guess this was 11 years ago I retired. I had a hard time holding my arm up to write on the board. So all my writing, when I looked from far away at the back of the classroom, looking at the front on the chalkboard, all my writing starts like this and then goes down like a wave. And I thought, that is really weird. But I couldn't hold my arm up. And I started to get depressed. And I thought, I'm going to paint the way I feel. And I started illustrating, but it took me a long time to do this because of the weakness in my hand. And I had a tremor. as well at the time. So that's how Parkinson's feels like to me. And it's like a wave, a mist trying to push me down, take me out, roll me up in a ball, kick me underneath a couch with, so I roll into the corner with the dust bunnies. And that's exactly how PD feels like to me. But it's different for everybody. That's something I started to realize. So I came up with the idea, why don't I illustrate a book that shows how people from all over the world feel like living with this disease? And I worked with Parkinson Europe, of a fabulous group, and they put the call out there to all their followers, and it spread. And I had many different responses, and I'll show some of them to you right now. I guess the next slide, actually, if we could see the next slide, but we'll move through this a little swiftly because let me talk about the cover. I love the cover. It's depicting Carl Beach, who is a wonderful entrepreneur and inventor of the Beach Band, which is like a watch with a pulse on it. It helps some people who have tremors. And he says that Parkinson's is like living with an unpredictable beast. And you never know when it's going to throw you down or trip you over. It's very hard to plan your day because of this unpredictable beast. So that came to my mind when I read Carl's description. Now, the next slide is what I showed you already. So we can move to the following slide. And this is Dave Clark. He's a very interesting man. He's got a show with another gentleman named Kuhan called Two Parkies in a Pod, a podcast. And I found his description so moving. Parkinson's is like living life in slow motion. Simple tasks seem to take forever. Putting your socks on in the morning can be a major challenge. I always wear brightly colored ones to make me smile. It's very satisfying when you finally manage to pull them up. And I just love that because he's looking for beauty. And when you set your mind to something like that, like the colorful socks, it'll help give you a boost to get there. For me as an artist, this was a challenge because how am I going to show slow motion? And for myself as an artist, I made the background blurry and I made the main subject hyper focus so you could really see it. And then let's move to the next one. This is a friend of mine, Caitlin Naji, who's got a podcast, The Pretty Dope Woman. And she was diagnosed at such a young age, 31 years old. And she's an amazing advocate for women with Parkinson's, young women with Parkinson's, because what we found is many of the research studies have been really based on men, and women's bodies are different with hormones. In fact, she writes about this, and here's what she wrote. I become a werewolf every month. Parkinson's feels like I'm turning into a violent, wild animal with dyskinesia making me thrash everywhere. Hormones making me cry and scream one moment and laugh the next. Then as I get my period, or you could say the full moon hits, everything goes back to normal. So I painted that picture with Caitlin's face and a werewolf. But it sure troubles me about how many people are getting Parkinson's now, more than ever, and many young people who still have to work, who still have maybe children they're raising. It's very hard. Now, this woman, Lisa Harris Murphy in Hawaii, wrote a very simple description. When medicated, or some days even unmedicated, Parkinson's feels like I'm walking through wet cement. And so many of my Parky pals all said yes, including me. Especially going up on an incline. It's very difficult at times. And let's see the next slide. I heard some talking there. Everybody, okay, everybody's good. Okay, this picture here is the million knots. I really often we get dyskinesia and muscle cramping in Parkinson's. So I was trying to show it. I get that in my right calf, and it can be quite debilitating. So I illustrated that. I have 24 illustrations in the book. And I want to share with you some, you can take the slide down. I'm hesitating to say it, but it's becoming obvious because I have an app that measures my tremor, dyskinesia, and I'm wearing it on my watch. And I'll say it quietly because I don't want to jinx it. I don't have a tremor anymore that I can see. My tremor's gone. It says on my app, I had it, I think it was a measurement of 4 minutes for the whole week that I had a tremor, but my husband and I couldn't see it. Yeah, here it is. Oh, sorry. Past 7 days, it was 6 minutes. I don't know if it shows or not. Yeah. The
Oh,
green is the dyskinesia and the blue is the tremor. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm happy. I don't like a tremor, but I don't seem to have it. And I've been doing a lot of drawing. I'm not sure why it's going. Maybe the mind, maybe the Mediterranean diet, maybe all the exercise. I don't know, and I'm happy. So I'm the brain is a mysterious and magical thing. So anyhow, if you want to get the book, it's available as a free ebook through a link that Mattia will share with you, I think. And it's also on my website. There's a link to get that free ebook, What Parkinson's Feels Like. We ask if you can give a donation, great. If not, that's okay too. It's and the three charities that are close to my heart. It's Pedia Ventures, Parkinson's Europe, and Parkinson Canada. Those are the three, and we're trying to raise money for Parkinson research. So I hope that you check it out. If you want a hard copy, I like to hold books and I like to take my time looking at them. You can get that through Amazon, and it's sold all over the world, and it's nice to have that too. And all profits I donate to those three charities as well. I don't keep any money from this. For me, it's not about money. It's about living life and enjoying it. So let me think. I have a few minutes, I hope. Am I okay?
You're at the 5 minute mark.
Oh, okay.
Or a
Uh,
reminder, you're welcome to use more time.
Look, I want to make sure I leave time for questions too. So the other thing that I think we should show, there's another slide. Is there of some women? If you could show that. Yes, this one. I think the reason why it took so long for me to get diagnosed with Parkinson's disease is because I'm a woman. And most people imagine it's an old white man who gets Parkinson's because that's what the medical illustrations were showing. So I thought, well, I better fix that. So I drew 6 different young women of various ethnicities going through the 5 stages. And when people see this, sometimes they get mad. They get mad at me. And I say, no, it's not me. These are designed. I can't recall the name of the two people who came up with these images for the 5 stages of Parkinson, but it's simply a tool. So that way, a doctor, another clinician looks for different symptoms of, of, of Parkinson's and how they progress. And nobody is the same. Some people may stay at number 1 or 2 for quite some time, maybe never getting to 5. Everybody is different, but still, it's important to be seen. So I did this. I'm working on young men right now. So if you could take the slide down. And I want people to know that Parkinson's, yes, it's progressive. Yes, we don't have a cure yet. I'm sure hopeful that we do. And it still upsets me. It really does, especially when I see through my children. I have adult children, and my daughter cried a lot when she found out I had Parkinson's. I got it as a gift for retiring. So I woke up and I wrote my philosophy for life, and I'd like to share that with you right now. Parkinson's reminds me how precious life is. I'm aware of my diminishing time and energy to get things done. So I got rid of negative people in my life as best I can. And I focus on today and what I can leave behind. And if I hear good music playing, you can be sure I'll be dancing to it. Parkinson's can't stop me from dancing. And then the next slide is a Twitter post I put up that went viral. You can play a little music on that last slide there. Okay. Does that have music? Thank you. I had 23,000 views or something, and it started a global Parkinson movement. Rochelle Flanagan, another friend of mine who's involved in advocating for Parkinson's, she and I created the dopamine dance based on that, because people responded all over the world spontaneously, standing up, filming themselves, and Parkinson's can't stop me from dancing. And they had signs up, and some swear words were there. Parkinson's can't stop me from dancing. And what a fun thing. Right, this is my revenge. This is my revenge with Parkinson's, living life fully. So thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm open for questions. I love to hear from you if you have any questions about any of the things I shared with you today.
Barbara, that was such an amazing talk. Thank you so much for sharing not only something so personal, but so inspiring for everyone. I mean, we in like residency and our training, we see a lot of patients who have Parkinson's, and it's truly amazing the way you've described it, but also shown like the humanity behind it with your art. And it's so hard sometimes to express it in words, and the way it's been kind of shown in your drawings in that book was truly just mind-blowing and inspiring. So thanks again for joining us today. If anyone has a question for Barbara, please just like put your kind of like emoji, like raise your hand, and otherwise I can also start. I had a question for you, if that's okay.
Sure. And I just see some people have said such kind things. So I thank you. And remind me, Tatiana, to share a personal anecdote as to why I do what I do.
Okay, we absolutely.
Remind me, because with Parkinson's, we get this Parkinson's fog. And what was I saying? I don't know.
Sounds good. I'll be your peripheral brain.
I appreciate it.
I think Sneha has a question, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Barbara, for sharing all of this with us. This was really delightful for me. I'm a movement disorders neurologist and chief medical officer of the Parkinson's Foundation, and my other hat is director of medical humanities at Duke University. So like this is like so much in my wheelhouse on both ends, Parkinson's care as well as creativity in medicine and healthcare, and how we can do a better job of recognizing that in our patients. One thing that I've noticed quite a bit in a number of my patients, and I've heard this from others as well, is that, some people with Parkinson's develop this new type of creativity, or, maybe they were a writer before and now they developed an interest in art, or, art and dance. So like different forms of creativity
Yes.
after developing the disease. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to that and like what you
Yes.
think might be driving that.
Well, it's interesting you asked this because my neurologist, Dr. Lorraine Callia of Toronto Movement Disorder Clinic, she wrote a paper that you might find interesting called If Art Were a Drug. And she used me as an example and some other people as well. And one idea is that when we're taking so much levodopa, I'm taking 6 pills a day plus a control release, and then I'm getting that dopamine high from art, music, nature. I'm wow, and my I'll call him my friend. I don't know him that well, but when we connect, we feel like friends. Kuhan, the man who has the two Parkies in a pod, he said to me that he didn't do photography, but after he had Parkinson's, he started to see such beauty around him in nature, and his photos are so stunning. So maybe it's the dopamine. I'm not sure, but I'm not complaining. The only time I complain is sometimes I get so into my work that I look at my clock. Oh my goodness, it's 3 or 4 in the morning. So that's the only problem for me. And it has happened to a few people as well. Steve Eisman is one of the people Dr. Callia described in that article, and he started the Rigid Riders cycling for people with Parkinson's, and he also does the most beautiful sculptures with laser printer, with plastic laser printer, gorgeous. And he said the same thing. I never did any art, but now I just love it. Yeah. Good question. Good question.
I can see that Mattia has a question.
Yeah, Barbara, first of all, thank you so much for such a fantastic talk. And I would have a million questions and a million comments, but I'll refrain. We can do it offline. One question that I had that really struck me is how how much the art of the mime takes so much of a reflection on our movements and intentionality of movements. And I was wondering whether some of it you adopted for Parkinson's in particular, and how much it's in the art of mime as a whole, and whether you know historically whether there is a reason why the art of mime developed like that, because it wasn't a therapeutic tool as far as I know.
Well, and then I'll need you to jog my memory, Mattia, because I think you asked 3 questions in there. There was more than one. So I'll start with the why it was created. Was not created for therapeutic reasons, I think. I mean, I didn't live hundreds of years ago, but they did commedia dell'arte with very physical theater and masks. And then Decru mime. I forgot the gentleman's first name, but he was the teacher for Marcel Marceau, Jacques Lecoq, who I studied with in Paris. And they were corporal mime was what they were focusing on, and that was isolating every section of the body, head, neck, chest, etc., etc. Each direction we would move, and it was all about controlling it. So that's the last question you asked, but can you refresh my memory with the earlier?
The first part was when you do, let's say, when you do mime therapy for people with Parkinson's, um, how much have you adapted, have you changed compared to how you would teach it, let's say, to someone who wants to become a mime and join a mime company?
And when I learned mime in my teen years and then in my early 20s, I noticed a few techniques that helped me remember. And when I taught my theater students, they would remember this. We always start with something real. So you like the glass. Start with a real glass. Feel it, touch it, look at it. If it's something like a fruit out of the fridge, feel the coldness of it, the temperature, the texture maybe. And then from that point, created the illusion. Okay, so but as far as the other part, which is connecting it to the disease of learning people with the disease with Parkinson's, I emphasize the following. These seems to really work. You use the real object to, and then use your imagination, but first hold the object with your eyes shut. And then you'll find you observe and notice quite a lot just with touch and wait. So eyes shut, and then using those concepts that I showed you, then you could create it mindfully and mimefully, no pun intended. And I then do one other thing, two other things. I move it in slow motion. So I pick it up slowly. I carry it around the room slowly. And that way gives the brain a chance to really observe and take it in and feel it. And the other thing I add, I try to use what's called VACT, and this is for teaching it where anybody, but it really particularly works with people with movement disorders like Parkinson's. And that would be to add sound. Galena, when you threw me the ball, with Zoom, sometimes it distorts sound, but I usually would do this. Whoop, woo, poof, woo, poof. And that helps the brain take in and retain the information. It accelerates the learning and it helps you remember it. Using visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile, VACT. It really helped. I studied at OISE, the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, for my master's in education, and that was my theory. My project was using masks, linking it to VACT. Did I help you answer your question? Okay.
Absolutely. You answer your question and then you added a lot of more insightful comments. So thank you so much.
You're
It's
welcome.
a
And
great talk.
one last thing, Mattia. When I was starting to heal myself using therapeutic mime, and there was an article written about me in Europe, a Canadian movement specialist approached me and asked me to teach her. And I said, okay, and only if we do a trade. Everything I'm showing you how to use mime, I want you as an expert in to show me and describe how I can modify it to suit different levels of Parkinson, people with Parkinson's. So she would say, okay, instead of them doing it this way, have them sit down and do it, that kind of thing. So I purposely looked for that information and then I applied it. I did a lot of field testing of this program with people with different stages of Parkinson's to see what works, how to modify it. And that was very, very helpful. And working with the professors and then videotaping and so forth and so on. Can I tell you about the peacock feather? I know there'll be others with questions, so I'm sorry, I'm jumping to the front of the line.
No, please go ahead. I'm
Okay.
sure we're all interested.
I found this is fascinating. Rob Merman, who I mentioned before, who was a mime artist. He also has Parkinson's disease, and he was in like me. I'm in two worlds: visual art, theater arts. In his case, he's mime and circus. So he brought to the table circus games, and he had peacock feathers, which I use as well in my workshops. And he said, when people put the point of the peacock feather on their hand, on their open palm, and I tell them to completely focus on the colorful feathers at the top. And I want you, it tells all the instructions, walk across the room. If you'd prefer to sit, that's okay, but keep that peacock feather upright. So they're balancing it on their hand. They're so concentrated on making sure that feather doesn't fall over, that they're looking at the colors. And if they're walking, it takes so much of their brain. Every single student in that class who have a tremor stop shaking their hand. And I remember my students at the University of Guelph, we did that with same exercise, and they came, you're right, miss. They're not shaking their hand. So I don't know. I put it to you. You're the specialist, but there's something going on there. And the thing that I love is I don't have my tremor anymore. I lost my tremor, and I'm happy about it. It can stay lost as far as I'm concerned. So I'm open to questions.
I think we have time for maybe one more question. If no one has one, I did have one, and I think, Barbara, I think you brought up something really important, and you talked about how the fact it took you a while before you were diagnosed, and you wondered also whether that timeline might have been shorter if you were a man. And I think that question gets to the heart of a bigger probably issue in just like neurology, is women often do experience a lot of delays in or different pathways to ultimately get their diagnosis. I'm a stroke neurologist, and I see that also in stroke.
Yeah.
But your example of Parkinson's, because your symptoms maybe didn't fit kind of the so-called like white man or
Yeah.
white old man presentation. I think I'd love to hear just like more your perspective about how that experience kind of shaped the
Sure.
way you're navigating just like healthcare moving forward, but also how, from your perspective, how we can do better when we are serving, this patient population.
Firstly, I am not angry at my doctor because I too had no reference of women. It wasn't the norm. So that's why I did what I could to change attitudes with the using women.
Yeah.
But I had a terrible experience with the neurologist, and this is the main reason why I am now my own advocate, and I do whatever I can to help people with Parkinson's live a good life, a quality day-to-day life. And it's because my neurologist was not focused on the patient and did not listen. This neurologist was constantly pressuring me to rate him on ratemymd.com. Every single time I saw him, I was pressured to rate him. And at the same time, he didn't really understand how to prescribe medication properly. And I had no titration. That was a word I learned where you gradually introduce the medication. Never happened ever for a whole year. Anytime he would put me on, I would be full blast, 3 levodopa a day, bang. And the side effects were terrible for me. I was vomiting, fainting, and driving. I'd have to pull over because I was scared I would pass out and vomit. And I'd call him and he'd say, okay, I'll cut you off right now. Don't take any more. Take this. And all 5 pills a day. And then and this happened for a year. And I kept getting side effects. And every time I'd call, he'd say, now rate me, rate me. Um, and then I got to the point where he accused me of giving him a bad rating. He texted me on a Sunday. I never gave him a bad rating, but he says, okay, you don't like me? You're gone. He cut me off, but left me with all these pills. And he said to me, before he cut me off, you know your body best. Take whatever drugs you feel like whenever you feel like it. And he had me on control release in the day, and then I started having hallucinations. And then I started believing I was dying and that I would be dead in 3 months. So I started doing small, beautiful paintings to my family to let them know I love them once I died. And I revealed it to my doctor and my husband. My husband did not know. I blurted it out one day because I was in a fog. Brain medication does a number on you. And my family physician, this was during COVID lockdown too. He got another neurologist online, and together they washed the poisons, the drugs out of my system. And when I came to, the Parkinson's had spread because before my numbness was from here to there. Now it's my whole arm, my whole leg. And I was mad. I was furious. And I said, hey, this is my life. I have agency. Where's my voice in this? I'll show you. I'll do the job you were supposed to do. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So that was one good thing that came out of that experience. Oh, can I tell you about another study, facial paralysis? They used mine, and they found people have a little movement were the ones who could awaken more. So I say, start on that mime over mind as soon as you're diagnosed. It's for free. You can get it on my website. It's on YouTube and my website for free. Get people moving, waking up the body. All right? That's important. Keep moving, keep dancing.
Well, thank you so much, Barbara, for sharing all of this. I mean, I'm sorry you had, you went through this like what sounds like such a horrible experience, and I think we're all very like shocked at how you were treated. But I'm so glad that you were able to advocate for yourself and you found your voice through multiple outlets, like through mime and art, and you've become like such a source of inspiration. I mean, so obviously, congratulations on all the work that you've been doing, and clearly, you've inspired all of us here.
You are doing such important work, and the fact you're open to hearing life experiences like mine, it means you're going to be a good doctor because you care and you truly focus on understanding and listening to the person in front of you, not just a part, but the whole. You're my gift. You people are the future, and I thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Well, we're so glad that you are here, and thank you so much again for sharing your story and sharing your art with us. And with that, I think we are at the 9 p.m. mark. Oh, yes, a little more dancing. But we are celebrating a very exciting milestone next month. It'll be a 1-year anniversary of the Neurohumanities Network, which we're very excited. It's a huge milestone, and would not have been possible for all the members in our group who have been working so hard at this. And then please join us for our next talk with Michael Stanley on his talk From Neuro to Humanities, and it's going to be on the 23rd of September. So it's a Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m. and you can register on our newsletter link. And we're also super excited to be joining the Dana Foundation Career Network in Neuroscience and Society. So the Neurohumanities Network is going to be present, and we'll be talking on Monday, September 8th. So please join us and learn more about how neuro and the neurosciences interact with all different aspects, neuro arts, neurohumanities, neuroethics, neuro law. So it's it's going to be a very interesting kind of session.
Thank you.
With that, thank you all, and good night, everyone.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much,
Barbara.
Barbara.
Have a good night, everyone.